Parshas Tazria begins by Daber Hashem al Moshe Lamar, Daber Bnei Yisrael Lamar. Tell the Jewish people, Isha ki Tazria v'yalda. Zohar talks about childbirth, and Rashi quotes the Chazal. What is the juxtaposition? Last week we read Parashat Shmini, and it dealt with the laws of kashrus and behemoths. And the Rashi points out that Parashas Tazria follows Parashas Shmini. It patterns itself after Maaseh Bereshis, that we know first man was created and then humans. So when man was created, the whole world was ready to serve man. So too here, Rashi writes, just like the creation of Sha'adam was Achar Kol Behema Chayev Ha'ov, so too here, first the Torah explains Torah's Behema Chayev Ha'ov, and then it goes on to the dinam of Adam. And as we learn, that's the privilege and the responsibility. On one hand, if we fulfill our mission, we're on a higher level than animals, because the whole purpose of creation was for us. On the other hand, if we act like animals, animals are even better because they were created before us. So that's what Rashi quotes in the Chazal. And it says, and then the Torah continues with the Parsha. Then the Torah begins with childbirth. It says, Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zachar v'tama shiva shamim, that if a woman give birth and she have a male child, she becomes tamei for 7 days. V'yom hashmini yimo b'sara laso, on the 8th day you shall circumcise this child. So the Gemara in Shabbos learns many halachas from this pasuk. V'yom hashmini, on the 8th day, yimo b'sara laso. But first of all, we see the number 8. The number 8, in contrast to the number of 7. The number 7 is always derech hateva, 7 days of the week, the 7-year Shemitah cycle. That's always the normal derech hateva. Number 8 is l'mala mi derech hateva, is above the laws of nature, and that's why we have Chanukah on day number 8, Bris Milah, to show a Jew is mimala mi derech hateva. That's the number of 8, and we have Shmini Atzeres as well. That Sukkot is a universal holiday, but Shmini Atzeres, he invites his close friends, so to speak, and the Jewish people are invited to stick around for another couple of days for the party. So the Torah repeats the halacha of Bris Milah. We're all familiar with in Parashas Lech Lecha. The Torah already gave us the mitzvah of Milah that God commanded Abraham. As we discussed many times, as the Rambam writes in many places, in the Perush HaMishnayos Techulin, in the Mishnah Torah, he writes that all the mitzvahs given before Har Sinai are not binding. We learn history, attitude, many things from the Avos, but we do not learn halacha. In other words, the reason why I'm obligated in the mitzvah of Milah isn't because it was given to Avraham Avinu. It was because it was repeated later on in Har Sinai. And that's why we're obligated. And that's why the Torah repeats it here. Yom hashmini yimo b'sara laso. But also, as the commentators explain, why do we have to have it repeated here? We learn out from this pasuk, Uvayom hashmini yimo b'sara laso. The Gemara learns out, B'yom afilu b'Shabbos. Even if day 8 falls out on Shabbos, we have the Bris Milah. So why did we learn out Bris Milah is Docha Shabbos from Parashas Lech Lecha? So the commentators explain we couldn't, because maybe I would think if the only reason Bris Milah you could have on Shabbos is at that point the Avos weren't obligated in Shabbos, they just volunteered it. Okay, so you have a voluntary mitzvah of Shabbos and you have to do the Milah, so Milah is Docha Shabbos. But the Chiddush here is, even though it's after Matan Torah and the Jews are obligated in Shabbos, nevertheless, one is obligated in Bris Milah Filu b'Shabbos. In fact, there's a whole discussion in the Mefarshim, why is this so? We're familiar with the Gzeira D'Rabba, that in fact we just finished Purim not too long ago. The Gemara talks about 3 places. On Rosh Hashanah, Shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the Daled Minim, the 4 species on Sukkot, and Megillah on Shabbos. Why no Megillah on Shabbos? Why no Shofar on Shabbos? Why no Lulav and Esrog on Shabbos? The Gemara tells us, really biblically speaking, you should do, at least for the first 2. For Lulav, L'kachta B'chem B'yom HaRishon, it's biblical, and Shofar. However, we're afraid you might come to carry the Shofar and it might lead to Chilul Shabbos. So, as a protective measure, we say no Shofar on Shabbos, no Daled Minim on Shabbos. Megillah is not such a big chiddush because Heim Amru v'Heim Amru. The rabbi said to do the Megillah, the rabbis could tell me not to. But the chiddush is by Shofar and Sukkot. So the question is, why don't we say the same thing by Milah? How come when it comes to Milah on Shabbos we say yes, but when it comes to Shofar on Shabbos and Daled Minim on Shabbos we say Gzeira D'Rabba? Why don't we say Gzeira D'Rabba by Bris Milah? So there are a couple of schools of thought. Some Mefarshim explain the difference is that Milah, not only is it a mitzvah aseh, a positive mitzvah like Shofar and Lulav, but it's a mitzvah aseh sheyesh bo kares. Failure to perform the mitzvah Milah comes with a penalty of kares. And kares is a very serious penalty. So therefore, when it comes to something, so by Shofar and Lulav, if you didn't do the mitzvah, so you merely were mavatel mitzvah aseh. You just nullified a positive commandment, which is bad, but by Milah, not only do you nullify a positive commandment, but you chayav kares. So anything to yesh bo kares, we don't want to take any chances with, and therefore we never tell you to postpone. So that's why Milah, even on Shabbos, you do as opposed to Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. Another school of thought is the Taz. The Taz writes, and he gets into the whole discussion of what is the power of the Chachamim. How much power do the rabbis have? So the Gemara in Yevamos tells us, Yesh koach b'yad Chachamim la'akor dvar Torah b'shevi al taseh. One is the Chacham have the ability to uproot a mitzvah by telling you not to do. For instance, the rabbis can tell me not to blow shofar, not to shake lulav. But if you're having a Mac attack and you feel you have to go to McDonald's, the rabbis can't tell you can eat there. That's bekum v'aseh, that's doing an action. Merely being passive, you can. The Chacham have the power. That's one of the rules of limitations of Chachamim. Another limitation is you can't do it directly on Shabbos. Another rule is that Chachamim can't go directly against what the Torah says. So for instance, if the Torah would have said, when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos we blow shofar, the rabbis can't come along and say, no shofar today. It's only because it says when Rosh Hashanah falls, on Rosh Hashanah you blow shofar. But if Rosh Hashanah, this says you blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't say anything about Shabbos. That's why the Chachamim, so when it comes to shofar, the rabbis can tell you no shofar. In fact, that's why it's the famous kasha of the Bach. How can we blow shofar at all on Rosh Hashanah? We have a rabbinical decree when it comes to musical instruments. Shema Yisakin Klishi, you might come to fix it and violate a biblical prohibition. So therefore, we should prohibit shofar on Yontif. So the Mefarshim answer, no, you can't. The Chachamim don't have the power to uproot a mitzvah completely, because if we say Shema Yisakin Klishia, we never blow shofar. And if you never blow shofar, they don't have the power for Akira's Davar in our Torah completely. They only can tell you on a temporary basis. So they point out that, so that's why the Gzeira Shema Yisakin Klishia, at least on Rosh Hashanah, Shechol B'Shabbos is only one day, the other day we're blowing shofar. However, the Tazria, when it comes to Mila B'Shabbos, Uvayom Afilu B'Shabbos, the Gemara makes a drasha, the Taz considers that Mefurish Bakra. The Taz considers it explicit in the Pasuk, and therefore, the Chachamim don't have the power to uproot it. So, those are some of the reasons why we do Mila on Shabbos. And we don't make a rabbinic decree, either because it's a mitzvah sheyesh bo kares, or because they don't have the power to uproot something which is explicitly in the Torah. So, regarding the law of Mila b'Shabbos, so as a general rule, we do a Mila on Shabbos, but that's only if it's Yom Shmini. That's only if it's day 8. But let's say a baby is sick and you postpone the bris milah, and day 15 happens to be Shabbos. No bris milah on Shabbos, you do it on Sunday. We only do a milah bizmana on Shabbos. If it's a milah shelo bizmana, if it's not day 8, so then we never do it on Shabbos. And in fact, not only that, but there are certain cases where even if it is day 8, we don't do it on Shabbos. In the case, what's the case? Let's say you have a suffix mila bizmana. Let's say you're not sure when the appropriate time is. So the classical case is a baby born during twilight, Friday evening after sunset, before nightfall. Up until sunset is considered definitely day. After the 3 stars, that's considered definitely night. The time period in between is Ben Hashmashos. It's doubtful day, doubtful night. So that's considered. So therefore, what happens if a baby is born then? So the halacha is even a suffix mila bizmana we don't do on Shabbos, because maybe twilight, because maybe it's only Friday and not Shabbos the baby was born on, and then it wouldn't be considered a mila bizmana, and therefore you wouldn't be allowed to do it, so we're not sure, so we wait until Sunday. What's another case of mila bizmana? Another case of mila bizmana is a C-section baby. What do you mean a C-section baby? We don't know when the baby was born? No, a C-section baby that we know was born on Shabbos. And day 8 is Shabbos, so you do the bris milah. So the Gemara, so to answer that question, the Gemara in the 19th parak of Shabbos discusses the question. the Gemara wants to know a more fundamental question. When do we do a C-section circumcision? So one opinion of the Gemara is you do it day 1. And the other opinion is day 8. So I understand day 8. Everyone's day 8. Why shouldn't it be day 8? So that's what the Gemara learns out from this week's parsha, the juxtaposition of childbirth. Isha ki Tazria v'yalda zacha, she's tummy 7 days. And the next pasuk, v'yom hashmini imo b'sara leso. What's the connection between childbirth and bris milah? So the Gemara learns out, kol she'imo tmei leda nibo mishmini. Only a woman who becomes tameh, who becomes defiled at childbirth from the tumah, only that woman has a milah on day 8. But if you can have a case where a woman does not become tameh after day 8, meaning the blood that comes out from the child, that makes her tameh. So how could you have a case where a woman's childbirth and there's no dam coming out, or no dam tameh? Because the Gemara says a C-section. In theory anyway, a C-section is coming out of a different part, and therefore a woman does not become tameh. And therefore, according to one opinion in the Gemara, if she doesn't become tameh, there's no obligation to do milah on day 8. If there's no obligation on day 8, then you'd be obligated on day 1. So that's the machlokas in the Gemara, whether you do a C-section maybe day 1, or do you do day 8. So the poskim leave it as sveika dedina. The poskim don't conclude on it. The poskim don't say exactly, the poskim don't say how we paskin, they're not sure. And therefore, it's a safek halacha. So what do we do if the baby's born on Tuesday? So we do it on day 8, because if you do it day 1, maybe it's day 8, it's doing a milah before the appropriate time, that's no good. And if it's day 8, okay, so worst case you waited 7 days, but you got the bris right. However, on Shabbos you can't do that, because if it's day 1, then you can't do it on Shabbos because it's a milah shalom bizmana. So C-section is this case of Savik Milah Shalom Bizmana, is the case of a Milah Shalom Bizmana, and therefore you also would not do a C-section baby on Shabbos. Interesting, today with modern technology, there's an interesting discussion of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and I heard from Rav Hershel Schachter, Rav Bleich, Rabbi Willig, that it's a tremendous chiddush based on Rabbeinu Hananel, that today, because we see it has to be a normal, of a C-section baby, we see you need a normal childbirth. So the question is, what happens, the Gemara talks about a case of someone becoming pregnant, a woman becoming pregnant in a bathhouse insemination, and the Gemara talks about a Kohen Gadol having to marry a Basula. How could she be pregnant? And the Gemara has a whole discussion there. So Rabbeinu Hananel in that Gemara points out that he wants to claim, in other words, Rabbeinu Hananel wants to say that this type of baby who is not born the normal way would not be able to do a bris on Shabbos day 8, because perhaps it's not clear that he'd be chayiv in bris milah. In other words, there's two opinions in Rabbeinu Hananel. What's not considered normal birth? Because simple pshat you would say, well, the baby's being born natural, so it should be the same. Sure, it should be a normal birth. But he wants to claim even if the conception was done in an unnatural way, or in not the normal way, so there is no meal on the 8th day. So today with modern technology, so with in vitro artificial insemination, there are those who are machmir. Many poskim are machmir. One cannot do a bris milah on Shabbos. It's no one's business how you had the baby. You can tell them anything you want. You can tell them the baby is not ready until tomorrow, etc. But according to many poskim, if you become pregnant through any of these modern means, so therefore they wouldn't have the bris milah on Shabbos. I think Avad Yosef's sheet is that you would. It's a big kiddush to say it's based on Rabbi Chanana, but the poskim say it, so l'chatchila, I think all the poskim I spoke to said that you don't do it, so that seems to be the consensus. And one last point, besides halachah vayom, we learn afil b'Shabbos, we also learn another halachah vayom hashmini, vayom uvelo v'layla. The halachah is one cannot do a bris milah at night, because the pasuk says yom, and a milah at night it's not valid. And so those are the two halachas we learn out about doing a milah vayom as opposed to balayla, and we learn how to do vayom afilo b'Shabbos. That's what we learn out from the juxtaposition of the psukim Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zacha. The fact that Torah puts together a woman's childbirth with the halachas of milah to see that the only type of meal we have on day 8 is a woman who becomes tamei. In fact, that's the reason why we wait to day 8, is the Gemara tells us in Nida that how it's not proper. Everyone will be able to be b'simcha tamila except the husband and wife who can't be together. So biblically speaking, the Torah says wait 7 days, and on day 8 everyone can join in on the simcha of the bris milah.